Hey crafters, hope everyone is doing really well. I've got my fourth project for you, and what this is an ornament box fitted for the ornaments we made in our last 12 days of Christmas gifts, boxes, collections. And basically this box then holds the ornaments inside, and there's a bit of a top to that as well. Our boxes are basically going to be, like 5 3/8 by 5 3/8. It's primarily a square box. So let's get to it, and I will show you how I made this box and finish it off. We can make boxes for more than just 4 ornaments, but I thought 4 was a nice gift size and could easily be done this time during Christmas. So let's get started. So first off, what I'm going to be doing is I have to cut my base layers for my cardstock. So the one for the bottom box is actually going to be 11 1/4 by 10 3/4. I'm sorry, 11 1/4 by 11 1/4. So there are square boxes, and they are cut the same on both sides. Now, when I cut these out, I did get measurements for going all the way across, but quite honestly, the easiest way to score this project is to just score all the way around on 4 sides. So it's 11 1/4 by 11 1/4. And then we're going to go and we're going to score a 1/2 inch and then at 3 inches on each side. And the reason why we're doing the 1/2 inch is because I want to make the turn on the box, the edge, I should say, not the turn, but the edge of the box, a little bit sturdier. Now, I haven't done that once on my own box when I was scoring, but now I've done it like 3 times with you. Sorry. So that's going to be a bottom of our box. I'm just going to put that to the side for right now. Then we're going to take another cut of cardstock, and this is for the lid. And the lid is going to be actually 8 1/4. Is it 8 1/4 by 8 I thought I had this written down. I'm so sorry. No, the lid is going to be 8 3/8 by 8 3/8. And the reason why I'm doing the 8 is because I only wanted a 1 inch side to my box. I also tried making the lid. Here, I've got some things in here. I also tried making this lid with 2 1/2 inch or 3 inch size, but I found that it was more difficult to get it off the box, so I just went with the 1 inch lid, which I felt gave me a much easier time for lifting that lid off. So this is going to be 8 3/8 by 8 3/8. That's the top. And what we're going to be doing is scoring on all 4 sides on this. We're going to do a 1/2 inch. And then we're going to do 1 1/2. And we're going to do that on all 4 sides. How's everybody doing with their Christmas shopping and Christmas crafting? Are you all done, or are you still kind of working with madness to get it all done? So then once we get all of these scored, we can go ahead and we can do the cuts for this. And there's some areas that we're going to be keeping, but some areas that will be just fully cut out. So what we're going to do is on here, you may see, hopefully you can see, we're going to cut out this whole 1/2 inch square on the corners of each side. And you want to cut them so that you're cutting away the scoring line. And I'm also going to cut an angle because these tabs are going to be folding in. That's the 1/2 inch score line on the side. So I'm going to again cut along this score line, cutting it to the tab, and then hopefully you can see that score line. I'm going to cut away that, and then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to actually miter these tabs to make sure that I have the score lines cut off and that they will also be mitered so that they fit better through the when I'm completing the boxes. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to cut this all the way off. And then I'll cut up straight here. And now you can do this any way, as far as if you want to cut them in the same direction, if you want to cut them so that they tab roundabout. Sometimes I like to do that because I feel like it gives the box more sturdiness. Sometimes I do it just because I forget how I was cutting it and I make a mistake. So it's really up to you. And you know, for this size of a box, it doesn't really matter that much. So I wouldn't fret about it. And then here I'm going to angle this side here, and I'm going to angle this side right away because I'm coming in here to cut this 1/2 inch off right away. And we'll cut straight up here. And this one is actually going to end up being kind of a roundabout one where each side is going to get a tab. My last one I did, there was I did it so that there was 2 tabs on each side. So like I said, as long as you get tabs and as long as you put it together, you know, so that it all fits together well, you're fine. However the tabs, you want to put the tabs. So cut this last tab. Ugh, doing so good at cutting my tabs here. I have to tell you, this part of crafting sometimes is my most favorite part. Even though I'm not the best at it, I just seem to enjoy it the most because I love putting boxes together, or like even the origami ornaments. Those were like some of my favorite to put together too. I love doing mini albums and cards and things like that, but I have to say that boxes are some of my favorite. The other thing that's my favorite is also mini albums, is putting the book actually together as far as the pages and covering. So I know that some people just really dislike that. So basically this is what our top is going to look like, and I'm going to just come in here and burnish some of these edges in a little bit before we take the opportunity to cover these with paper. Now I'm going to cover some of these with my pattern paper before we actually glue all the tabs in. But the inside I'll do once we're done because of our additional tab here that we don't want to, because the tabs have to go in. So, and just make sure you can clean up your edges along your tabs so that they look flat and even and nothing is hanging off from the edge. So I think that's good. All right. So this is out the top of our box. So the other thing that we're going to do for the top is we are going to cut out the middle. But what I'd like to do is finish the bottom first because it's the same type of cutting that it was for the top. So we'll finish that and then we'll come back and do the other part of the top. So on this one, it's the same cutting style. You're going to eliminate, hopefully you can see that, or maybe you can see it that way better, I don't know. We're going to eliminate this part on every corner, and we're keeping this scored part on every side because we want the additional tab. So when I go in to cut in this, I'm going to cut off my score line so that it's on my tab for when I'm going to miter that. And I'm just going to okay, so you can see how that is on that edge, and then I'm just going to come in and I'm going to miter. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. You don't want it to be a mess, but it does not have to be perfect. You can see I have a little bit of a hump on that side too. So I'm going to cut up here. All right, and then we'll miter to get this score line off. The other reason why I miter these is so that they're a little bit shorter than at the top of my side. I don't want them peeking over. Okay, we're going to cut this side. Sorry about the stop there. I was like all of a sudden looking at this going, am I doing something wrong? Because it's only on camera when you really do something wrong. Because we save all our mistakes for when you're watching us. You know, it's the mistakes and the memory. Once you get on YouTube, memory goes too. It's like you forget the name of what you're doing and you forget the other things too. It's just terrible. And it's not really nerves. I don't know. I don't know why, but it happens. All right. And one more. Goodness gracious. All right. So if you get a chance, leave me a note down below this video on maybe some other kinds of projects you'd like to see before Christmas, quick and easy ones. I've got a couple others that I'm going to be sharing with you. Some you may have seen before, but some of you may not have seen it on my channel before. So I'm going to share a couple of real easy little gift items that over the next few days and next week. I should have all the videos up by the end of next week. So I want to make sure that I get these up in plenty of time for you to have some time even to make a quick present. So want to make sure that they're mitered on all edges. I see I missed one right here. All right. And then I am going to, again, just burnish some of those score lines in. And we will be covering some of this as well while we have it flat. I did not cover the inside of my box except for the lid. And the reason for that is that I kind of felt that you'll see the lid when you're opening it up, but you don't necessarily see the lid when it's closed. So just the underside. So basically that's our bottom, and we're complete with that. So let's go back to our lid. We'll finish this up. So what I have done with this is I wanted to have a rim around the top of this lid so that I could cut that out. And what I did with that is I made the inset in this side of the box lid, and I did it I marked it at 3/4 of an inch all the way around, and then I drew my lines, and then I took my utility knife and I cut all of that. So and this should be fairly accurate, hopefully. When we get all our lines in place, and then I just come back and I try to match up my lines. You know, I'm going to see if this will work for me. Shouldn't have probably done that. Yeah, it's not working so well. Might have worked better if I had done it before I cut all those pieces. So I just basically take my pencil and go across, and then I do the same thing on all sides, matching up my pencil lines. Looks a little off. And hopefully it's not too much off. But again, it's paper and it's pencil, and we can always go in and redo and kind of fix things up. So while I like to get it right the first time, I'm not fretting about it, that it's going to be a major issue if I don't. So then we're going to go ahead and we're just going to cut out this square inner piece. All right. And again, one of the most important things to remember when you're using a cutting knife, don't try to push so hard that it cuts through on the first time. If it cuts through the first time, awesome. But the best way to be the most accurate to your line and not jump the line or not push on your ruler is by taking light strokes and taking more strokes than pressing really hard on one. Even on chipboard, it might take, 5 different cuts to it, but you'll be a lot better off if you are taking softer cuts and more of them, because you'll be more accurate. And I learned that the hard way, if you're wondering how I know. The good thing is I've never cut my fingers because of it. And then I'm just going to erase these pencil lines that I got on the edge here. They're probably going to be covered up, most of it, but I just like to erase them so that I know they're gone from the inside. Alrighty, so Then the next thing is that we want to add some type of acetate on there. And I bought some wonderful acetate from Country Craft Creations. But of course, my daughter helped me to pick things up and clean my room up and everything. And I have no idea where she put them. So I am going to be using some of my packaging acetate, because I cannot find, like I said, the ones that I bought from Country Craft Creations. And actually, the acetate I had a little piece left over, and that's what I used on top of here. And I really, really like it. It's looking into it, it seems to work better than most of them that I've seen where they're too cloudy, or it's not as accurate as enough. So I think I'm going to take that. Right, I always lose my rulers. I have 100 of them on my desk, you know. So we're going to cut those, the piece of acetate, I would say 4.5 by 4.5 probably will be good. So I'm going to do that real quick. Going to just cut that top off. Then I'll turn it around this way. Well, you know what? I'm going to cut this off too. Bending is bothering me. So, all right. So we're going to go 4.5. By 4.5. All right. So now you have the option of doing a couple different things. Wow. Well, it's a good thing looks like one side I kind of shorted it, but I think we'll still be fine. What I did with this before is I ended up putting score tape around the edge of the window, and I used my 3/8 inch or 1/4 inch, not quarter, my 1/2 inch around it, but I'm going to use my 1/4 inch this time because I've got some of that's a little bit shorter. I must have cut it a little bit short, so I'm going to use this to hold my acetate on the top. And we're also going to be covering this with pattern paper, so it'll cover up anything else or any other leftover edges of the score tape. But I'm bringing it back a little bit from that edge because I don't want the score tape poking out over my edge of my window. Now you can do this on the inside or you can do this on the outside. For me, I just chose the outside because I thought it would be a little better. Part of it was I wasn't sure whether I was actually going to cover the inside of the box, so that's why I actually did the outside to begin with before doing the inside, because I didn't want the edge of that sticking in or sticking out on the inside of that. So, alrighty. Get rid of that. And then we've got this off to the side. And I'm going to burnish this down. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to cover the top of this. And we can also cover the sides, the outside of it. The inside will cover once we get it all put together. We can cover the inside top, but not the inside sides, because we need to get the box together to do that. So, all right. Oh, I see what I did. Okay. So what I want to do is to make sure that I get this on all sides. I have a little bit of, like I said, a little bit of score tape hanging over on the edges, but we still should be okay, and that should work just fine. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our pattern paper around the edges of our top of our box. And one of the things that I like to do with them is to miter the corners. Now on the inside I did not do that, but on the outside I like to do a mitered corner. And what I mean by that is it's angled together. So the thing that's really important with that is making sure that your pieces are even and they're as long as each other. That'll give you a nice angle on your strips so that you can put them together well. And then I start out by I glue part of this down and part of this down, and then I cut the angles once I get the rest of the other pieces on. So, and for me, it's easier to do this like piece by piece. The other thing that I did do, because there is a white core on this, is I actually took the Distress ink and colored the sides. But one of the things that I like to do when I have smaller groupings or smaller cuts, and I don't really want the distressing on the paper necessarily, I just take my strips together and I run my sponge along the edges in a group and along the end in a group. And you know, the first one usually is a little bit more distressed than the rest, but then I kind of discount some of that, you know, I don't have as much distressing on the top. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this corner to corner, and this should match up then once we put this down corner to corner with, I'm just watching my score tape here because I have that leftover score tape on the sides where I have a smaller acetate. So we're going to put that down so that it angles right like that. I'm going to turn that around because I can see it a little better. And then on the top of this, what I'll do is I will take my art glitter glue, and again, I only put glue to about midway on this strip so that I can easily cut my corner for the other ones. Sorry, I have a pin in my mouth. I shouldn't do that. And then I'll glue the rest of that down once we get the other pieces in the other corners working. But that helps me to make a little bit better mitered corner. So then what I do is I'll come to the next corner and I match that up directly to this piece so that it matches up to the corner exactly. And I come and cut from angle to angle, or corner to corner, and it should give us a nice fit. So then when we do this, I end up putting the rest of my art glitter glue on here, and I put this down, and I match up this corner, but leaving the half of it up so that I can do the same thing on the other corner. And this is the way I found the best way to make the best cuts for my corners. Now this one looks a little bit off. I'm gonna pull that down just a little bit. So I'm going to make sure if one is off, I'm going to make sure I have at least one perfectly mitered. So I have that and that. Yeah, that's what I did wrong. I had this one set a little bit angled. Ooh. That never happened before. Where I had the art glitter glue come up. Where is that coming from? Huh. See, like I said, anything that will happen, it happens now because I'm on YouTube. It's never happened before. So, anywho, let's just make sure we're in line here. I'll have to fix that later. So this one is then going to go onto this side, and we're going to leave the other side up. And we'll put this together with that real good. And put this one only part way down. I think we're going to have this one just a little bit off. Okay. Well, you can see what happens then when it's a little bit off. I was so happy my other one just went together perfectly. And this one's, it's not too bad, but it could have been better. I just like the mitering of the corners. I think it just looks, see now that, look at that, that does not. Again, of course I'm on camera. It's not working. And the other two that I made, it did work on just fine. I had no issues whatsoever. So, all right, that's not too bad. Not too bad. I'm not sure what I did here, but thankfully art glitter glue dries clear. So hopefully that will work just fine. Well, that's the hardest part of this whole box, is that part on the top. So we're going to go ahead and take our other strips, and I'm sorry, I didn't tell you what size these strips were. The matting for this lid around the top is 5 1/4 by 5/8. So these are 5 1/4 by 5/8. And then the ones that are going to go along this side are 5 1/4 by 7/8. So again, I just put the vintage photo around the sides on this, and we'll put these down all around, and then we'll go to the inside. The other thing is that if you prefer to put your paper on once your box is all put together, that's exactly how I did it the first time. I just thought that because I'd done a couple of these that I could do it this way now because I was confident enough that I knew what I was doing. Haha. So making sure this is even all around the edges. All right. And this really, for the pattern paper on this, I found that I used only about, for all of this, 1 sheet of 8 by 8 and 2 sheets of the cardstock. You might have to cut out just 2 pieces from another 8 by 8, but it was not, you know, it was hardly anything to be using. And it's always nice to be able to use some of those other pads or other size pads of paper. So then basically what we can do is we can go in and we can put this around the top. And again, I'm not going to miter the inside because it actually looks just fine. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to fit this in here, and I'm going to put the 2 sides on, and then I'll put the top and bottom on, and they will just cover over top and bottom. So again, this is something that you can do on the cover as well. You don't have to do the mitering if you are much happier with just doing one piece over another. It's perfectly fine. It'll work just as nice. And, you know, somebody else may not even know the difference that you did that. So, like right here, you can't even really tell how I put this together, whether I mitered it or I had it one over another. So don't think that you have to do that. I always say there's much forgiveness in paper crafting. There we go. So then we can end up putting the rest of the box together. So let's just go ahead and do that. And we're going to put these 1/2-inch flaps down so that we can make this a little bit more sturdy. And we'll use these pieces for the inside of our box. Not inside, you know, inside the cover of the box. So let's go ahead and let's put this together, where you're going to take your flaps and we are just going to move around the box. Making sure that we get those edges really cleanly together. And let's see, my clothespins. Just want to do a little bit of a clothespin here, and then I'm going to come along and do this one. And my art glitter glue doesn't want to be friends with me. I'm so excited about this box because I think it'll make such a nice present for a friend, and it won't take millions of hours to make the ornaments that look so neat. You know, really, you probably could get three of the ornaments done in a half an hour, in this box in about a half an hour, maybe a little bit more, so maybe about an hour for putting all of this together once you kind of have your supplies pulled together or what you're going to be using on them. I think that it would go pretty quickly. So that's always a good gift. I was talking with somebody about that today, and when we were talking, she was like, well, you could do those ornaments for presents for next year and just every month make a few more ornaments or make a few more boxes. And I thought, you know, that's really a pretty good idea, actually, because these are, you can kind of end up making them with all different kinds of paper depending upon what you have left over. So then once we're done with this, I'm going to go ahead and take my art glitter glue and I am going to fold these edges down. And then I'm going to go in with my wipe and press these down a little bit more firmly. And the reason for doing this is that I like to see just the edges of the box being a little bit more firm, and it helps them to be a little bit more sturdy. If you don't like to do that, then you can cut off that part of the scoring and just reduce the size of your box lid, and by that 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. So might be less cutting on it as well if you did that, but I think that a box like this would be something that a friend would keep in the gift box for years to come, because they would, as they take their tree down, they would take the box and put the ornaments back in there. And if not, they could use the box for other gift items for a friend. Is always a nice item for them to pass along. So I know that we typically, when we take ornaments off the tree, if they came in a special box, we usually put them back into that all the time. So, all right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to take the rest of our pattern paper, and we are going to put that around the edges of the box. Sorry, I know you can't probably see this as well as I can see it, but you can see like that. So we're just going to go around the inside of this box. And like I said, you know, when I did this box the first time, I covered it with patterned paper after I had everything put together. So if you like to do that, it's easy enough to do that as well. I do it both ways. Sometimes I get confused on where my pattern paper should go if I do it all up front. So I usually like to do it after it's all built, if it's the first time or second time I'm doing the box. But look how pretty that looks inside. And again, I'm not doing the inside of the bottom because I think that the ornaments should play the part of being the decoration inside the box. And that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it. All right, so we have our lid of our box done, and we'll put that off to the side. And our next step is to work on the bottom. We've got everything cut, so the only thing that we are left to do before we put it together is getting our pattern paper. So the pattern paper, I am going to cover the outside of the box with our patterned paper, and this matting is cut. I cut 4 of them at 5 1/8 by 2 3/8. So you can see that it's just not a ton of pattern paper. Now again, you can cover the inside if you choose to do that, if you'd like to do it. There's nothing saying you have to leave it plain. One of the things, though, that I wanted to do that I thought was important is the reason why I covered the inside of the box, of the lid, is because I wanted to make sure that it fit all the way around when I put the lid onto the bottom of the box. Now, there's another crafter that I know likes to make boxes a lot. Her name is, don't know her first name, but her channel site is Intertwined Designs, and she's out of the UK, and she makes many different kinds of boxes. And actually it was her and another 2 or 3 individuals that I saw online and on Pinterest that made those origami ornaments. That's where I got that from, and the ornaments that go into this box. But she always matches her box tops to the bottom of her boxes to make sure that they'll fit properly all the way around. Now, I tried to do that. I don't know if I wasn't coordinated enough or what, but it didn't work out real well for me. So sometimes for me, it's a little bit of by gosh and by golly for me to make sure that it fits. And if it doesn't, then it might get thrown across the room. No, not really. I've tried several different things to change that out, and some things worked, some things didn't. So as we go around here, we're not going to put this down until we get our flaps done. So let's go ahead and let's get our and we'll pull this up and make a square off our corner on our box. Push this down, and you're going to see how I cut these. Like this one, I'm going to have 2 on this side, and I have 1 on both of the other sides. So like I said, not a big deal. You know, it might be a big deal if it was a longer box or a box that needed better stability in a certain area. Like especially if it's a longer length box, what I will make sure I do is put more of the tabs on the long side of the box, because it helps the box give it more structure to the side of the box. So that's why I would do that. But a box that's like this, it's pretty square, and it's pretty sturdy on its own. So it's not too big of a deal if you cut it one way and one another way. I just go in and press that down and make sure I wipe away any of the excess glue. And then we'll do the glue on this one. There we go. Square that up. Okie doke. On that side, and we're going to go on that side. So the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to put this down to the inside of our box. So yes, you can see this top piece into the inside of the box. So if you feel better about covering the inside because you don't want to see this small edge along the box, then go ahead. But again, I felt like the ornaments in the box themselves, when giving it as a gift, really just didn't see all of that. So I think it actually would be fine to leave it without the paper on the inside, but you can always do it, always add it. Just don't make it like extra heavy cardstock, because the ornaments fit well into this box, but you don't want to put too much extra dimension on the inside that they, you know, become too tight. There we go. See, I feel like it just stands so nice and square with that extra top on it. Now, if this was just a little box that I didn't want somebody, I didn't care whether they kept it or not kept it, I wouldn't do all of this. But because I think that this is something that might be kept longer, I want to give it a little bit more structure and sturdiness. All right, so that's all of that put together. Now, we've got everything here. The last part, let's make sure it fits. Yes, it does. Mine fits all the way around, and I've got to, like I said, to get rid of that a little bit. And I clean off the inside of this top, but I think it looks cute all the way around, and I probably will take the same thing, the same ribbon that I had before that I got at Country Craft Creations. I'll use that to tie that around. But we have one last thing that we really need to do, and that's to put spacers into our box. And really, the inset for the box, we need to have 2 spacers that are 5 1/4 by 2.5. And I did not cut these ahead of time, so let's go ahead and cut these real quick. So let me get... So 5 1/4. And I didn't put these together any stronger than what I had. What I found, though, is that as long as they fit well within the box, that the structure of them was pretty good. When I had them a little bit too long, so I might even cut a little bit off the side here, this end, just a 1/16 of an inch, and I found that they fit much better. And then what I did is I just eyeballed the center of it so that I could make a square out of it, and then cut like a 1/16 of an inch in. So if we take our pieces, so we're just a little bit over, like 5 1/8 over to that. So it would be 2.5 would be 5. So we're gonna go, I'm gonna go just like a little bit right in here just to mark that. And what I'm going to do then is just take my scissors and I'm gonna cut about halfway, maybe a little more than halfway to these. And then what I did is I took my little and just cut about like I said, about a 1/16 of an inch in, pulled it up, cut that square off, and same thing on here, I did that, about a 1/16 of an inch, and I tried it without cutting that, and it did not fit together very well. So I would say that you should make sure that you put the 1/16 of an inch in between. So you can see how that then fits in, and your ornaments fit into your box very nicely. We took about a 1/16 of an inch off the ends of this 5 1/4, so you know it would be maybe 5 1/8 might work if you want to use it for measurement. I sometimes like to do it a little bit bigger and then measure it out and match it up. So that is our box with our messy glue. Sorry. But I think that that turned out pretty good, and this is our other box you can see with the ornaments, and you can see with the ornaments themselves, they really do make it look so nice, and it matches the ornaments so well. So I hope you enjoyed that, and this is our bauble ornament box, and very quick and easy to make. If you enjoyed this video, or if you liked the tutorial, please give me a thumbs up. Leave a message in the notes below letting me know if there's anything else that you'd like to see or something you'd like me to try out. Otherwise, thank you so very much, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you.